My name is Chris Seabright. I'm with the Front Range Passenger Rail District, and again, welcome. I think so often when we have talking about passenger rail, because we don't have the trains yet, it's a very verbal conversation. So I am excited right now actually to introduce a video so we can get more of an appreciation of the touch, look, and feel of our future service. So videographers, go forth.
The Colorado Front Range, where the Great Plains meet the Rocky Mountains, where cities, towns, and neighborhoods each have a unique character, yet all share the legacy of a pioneering spirit and a belief in what's possible. Where world-class educational institutions are making groundbreaking discoveries and preparing the next generation to lead. It's a place where people want to be. And for the 5 million of us who are lucky enough to live, work, play, and raise families here, it's home. Over the next 25 years, this home is expected to grow by more than 3 million people, and most of them will have cars. This growing population presents new challenges, like making sure we can keep Coloradans moving when our roads just weren't built for this many cars. Yet in this challenge, we see possibility. At this key moment in our state's history, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to build a new way to connect Coloradans. A new way to travel along the Front Range that's fast, safe, reliable, and comfortable. Front Range Passenger Rail will link communities across the Front Range from southern Colorado to Fort Collins with modern and efficient passenger rail service. From the Chili Festival in Pueblo to basketball, football, baseball, and hockey games in Denver. From Boulder's Flatirons and Pearl Street Mall to the nationally recognized breweries of Fort Collins. Intercity passenger rail service along the Front Range will connect Coloradans to opportunities, adventure, and each other. Now, with new sources of federal funding and a commitment from state leaders and local communities, Colorado is at an exciting juncture, and Front Range passenger rail service is within reach. Join us as we unlock new opportunities to connect with one another and chart a new path forward to meet the transportation needs of tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I have such a pleasure today to be able to introduce our governor of our fabulous state. Governor Jared Polis, please come up and give our opening remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chrissy. Welcome, Administrator Bose and Mayor Yemi, to History Colorado. As you know, our state is getting ready to celebrate our 150th anniversary, our sesquicentennial in just 3 years. And won't Front Range Passenger Rail be a key part of really celebrating who we are and helping to make sure that our residents and visitors from across the country and across the world are able to enjoy our great state and get where they want to go. Last week, we announced our roadmap to Colorado's future. And actually, yesterday, I joined Mayor Yemi in Colorado Springs. I was in Pueblo, really talking about some of the same things we were talking about in the Denver area, about affordability, sustainability, and livability. A key component of that vision is delivering on the promise of Front Range Passenger Rail and Mountain Rail. The Biden administration's recognition of Colorado as part of the Corridor Identification and Development Program is a very important step to turn all of this hard work and planning and vision into Front Range Rail that's convenient, low cost, and fast from Fort Collins to Pueblo for our residents, for visitors, to improve the quality of life in our state. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Act that President Biden signed, that most members of Colorado's delegation, the federal delegation, supported, is truly a once-in-a-lifetime investment in the future of passenger rail. What we're talking about today might have remained on the drawing board for years or decades, but because of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, we're able to work with the federal government to make it a reality in the near term. And this immediate funding that we're grateful for is really a result of the hard work that we've shown. I see a broad array of coalition members here, from members of the Front Range Rail Board to county commissioners and others. I want to thank our partners in the legislature for setting up the Front Range Rail District a few years ago. If we can continue to make progress, this initial federal funding will open the door for significant additional federal funding, as well as access to low-cost ways to finance rail that will help make sure that we can deliver convenient, low-cost passenger rail to our residents. The fact is that Coloradans are more than ready for Front Range Rail. I would argue we were ready 5 or 10 years ago, but we're certainly ready now, and we'll certainly be ready in the future. The demand is here, a growing economy. I think the beauty of this moment is that it ties in so well to the discussion we're having about transit-oriented development and land use, which really goes hand in hand with transit. Transit-oriented neighborhoods and developments without transit is an empty promise. And so being able to work and discuss and have concrete plans to deliver both concurrently is really critical to our way of life, to convenience, to saving people money. The average Coloradan spends $1,800 on gas on commuting costs. And we want, and again, for Coloradans who want to live a little further out and have acreage, and they're able to do that, but not enough Coloradans who want to be able to live near transit and want to be able to have maybe one car for a family of 4 instead of 2 have had the opportunity to be able to do that. And that's really what we want to be able to change, to provide that opportunity for all kinds of Coloradans to live the lives that they want to live in our great state, reducing traffic, improving air quality, improving convenience. We've done the work to put Colorado in a strong position, but now we need to really build on that momentum. Because we know that Administrator Bose knows that there's a few other states that are also looking at these opportunities, and we know that we need to make sure that Colorado is one of them that comes to fruition. It is, when you look at the map of the other identified corridors, I think this one is distinguished in a number of ways, but I think we are the most ready, the most far along, and I think we have the biggest proven market potential to deliver and make this a huge success. This is a moment to think boldly about Colorado's future, where people can commute to work without sitting in traffic, where you can hop on a train, from Colorado Springs to go to a Broncos game, from Denver to visit the Olympic Museum in Colorado Springs, or go to a Switchbacks game. And thanks to Administrator Bose and the FRA, we're a step closer to turning this project into reality. And now's the time we really need to double down and make it happen. Thank you to everybody in the room for your work. Now is this very special moment that we have the opportunity to deliver on the long, elusive promise of Front Range Rail, and do it in an even better way than had ever been considered before by looking at the roadmap to Colorado's future and transit-oriented development, as well as regional transit agencies and the ability to get to people's final point connectivity from the longer haul passenger rail. It's my honor to introduce FRA Administrator Amit Bose, who spent several days with us here in Colorado. We're grateful. I hope you get to go up to our mountains and ski. If you ski or board, if not, maybe next time. If it means I'm happy to take you up there myself sometime. But I want to thank you for spending so much time with us in Colorado. I think you've really got to see the enthusiasm, the planning, the thoughtfulness, the way we've integrated everybody from local, state, private sector, really aligned with this very exciting vision for what we know that with your help, Administrator, we can make a reality here in Colorado. With that, I'll turn it over to Administrator Bose.
It's great to be here in Denver and in Colorado. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Governor Polis, for that introduction. I'd also like to thank everyone who's here from the Front Range Passenger Rail District and the Colorado Department of Transportation, including Executive Director Shoshana Liu, for helping make today possible. Today marks a promising milestone for the state of Colorado, and I am very excited here to commemorate it with you all. Last Friday, President Biden announced $8.2 billion for 10 passenger rail projects across the country and corridor planning activities that will impact every region of the country. Notably, this includes efforts right here in Colorado to connect Fort Collins to Pueblo, with stops in Boulder, Denver, Colorado Springs, as well as other points in the state. On behalf of the Biden-Harris administration, I am so pleased to formally announce the Colorado Front Range Corridor's selection as part of the inaugural round of the Corridor Identification and Development Grant Program. This program came to be from President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law. And the Corridor Identification Program will help guide inner-city passenger rail development throughout the country. It will create a pipeline of projects ready for implementation and future investment. It's an exciting time and an exciting program. The opportunities created by the President's infrastructure law are vast. The FRA has advanced nearly 170 projects nationwide with funding from the President's bipartisan infrastructure law, with 69 corridor selections across 44 states for future development. Of course, we would not be here today without all of you and the governor's vision. The federal government fully recognizes your work and the years of planning and labor that went in from the state and local level that got us to this point. FRA looks forward to continuing to work with the Front Range Passenger Rail District and the Colorado Department of Transportation to advance this promising corridor. At FRA, we want our investments to directly benefit communities and improve lives. And today's announcement will advance those efforts that ensure more Coloradans have access to world-class passenger rail. After waiting years for new federal funding, 2023 is shaping up as the year in which major rail projects and rail priorities across the country are going to move forward. To date, the Biden-Harris administration has announced nearly $30 billion in investments in our nation's rail system. That includes the Federal Railroad Administration's Consolidated Railroad Infrastructure and Safety Improvements Grants Program, in which the Colorado State University Pueblo is a partner that will fund workforce development opportunities essential to the rail industry's future and to all of our economies. It also includes the FRA Railroad Crossing Elimination Grant Program that will advance a Colorado Department of Transportation-supported study to increase safety by potentially eliminating 2 at-grade crossings on U.S. Highway 34 along the border of Weld and Larimer counties. 2 years after signing the infrastructure law, President Biden's Investing in America agenda is tackling long-standing infrastructure needs, supporting communities across the country, and making it possible to get people and goods to where they need to be safely, quickly, and conveniently. This progress is possible through strong state and local partnerships, through strong vision, and through strong coordination. Thank you again for dedicating your own time and resources to advance rail in Colorado. This is still just the beginning. More project selections and more program funding resources are available to achieve your goals. This is, again, an opportunity to grow rail throughout the United States. FRA looks forward to working together with Colorado, and I look forward to celebrating even more milestones here in this state. Again, congratulations for your achievement, and now I will turn it over to my former colleague, Executive Director Lou.
Thank you, Administrator Bose, and thank you to everybody who's assembled here, many of us for the second time in 1 week. Which I think is a testament to just how much progress is happening on these projects in a very, very rapid period of time. And seeing this project accepted into the Corridor Identification Program as a level 2, which means we're farther along than the other admittance into the class, I think shows the potential and the really once-in-a-generation opportunity we have working together with the Biden administration as part of the IIJA implementation efforts. So, it's really incredible to see the kind of momentum and to think about all the ways that we can continue to drive it forward. And many of us, given the amount of time that Amit has spent with us have had a real opportunity this week to talk about the specific things we can do to keep this moving quickly, getting the service development plan done as quickly as possible, getting projects into the pipeline for capital funding to complement the planning dollars that we've received and largely executed, thinking about rolling stock and how this can align with the work that we're doing on Mountain Rail to really take advantage of having two corridors that touch an awful lot of communities in Colorado, and really thinking about how we can work with all of the partners to drive these things together as a sort of win-win for everyone along both corridors. And to see the excitement of the FRA, of Amtrak, of all the partners who you sort of hope will come to the table, really offering us a kind of partnership that we often don't see with federal programs is really incredible. So with that, I'd like to introduce one of our local leaders, because this project is being driven so much by the enthusiasm of everybody up and down the corridor, Mayor Yemi Mobolade from Colorado Springs.
Good afternoon. What an exciting day, and thank you, Executive Director Lou, for the introduction. I'm honored, really, to be here to provide some local perspective to this project. You see, this project is very exciting for the city of Colorado Springs, and I know for the entire Front Range. I join you in thanking all who have contributed to this incredible milestone. You see, great projects like these don't happen by happenstance. It takes great leadership and radical collaboration, and many of these leaders are in this room. Thank you, Governor Polis, and for being in Colorado Springs yesterday, Administrator Bose, Lisa Kaufman, and many, many more. Friends, Colorado Springs is very supportive of this project. This summer, shortly after I was sworn as mayor, I held a citywide listening tour. I held this tour in all 6 districts, and our residents in all 6 districts stood up and spoke specifically about their support for this project. Frankly, I was actually surprised that they knew about it. You see, I believe the reason why is there's a hunger for connectivity. There's a thirst for transportation options. The benefits are many, as you've heard, including reducing travel times and congestion, boosting economic growth, improving our quality of life, and fostering greater collaboration and innovation between all of our cities. All of our Front Range cities have a lot to offer, and I'm a big believer that a rising tide lifts all boats, to borrow from JFK's words. To the residents who choose to live in Colorado Springs but work in Denver, this project is for you. To the many working professionals who work in Colorado Springs, particularly our military members, and choose to live in Pueblo, this project is for you. To the many college football fans across the state, this project is also for you. I love college football. It was my introduction to the U.S. culture when I first moved to the U.S. from my country of origin in Nigeria. I was living in South Bend at the time, so I naturally fell in love with Notre Dame football. Please do not hate me. But I've had a passion for college football ever since. I'm personally excited that the passenger rail will provide a direct route from the Air Force Academy Falcons in Colorado Springs to 2 other dynamic college football teams in our state, the Buffs and the Rams. I believe this regional connectivity will also unlock new opportunities for people to visit and work in Colorado Springs, and it would further open our local tourist attraction to more visitors. This includes America's mountain, Pikes Peak Mountain, the second most visited mountain in the world, Guardian of the Gods, and our award-winning Olympic Paralympic Museum, and the soon-to-be-open Visitor Center at the U.S. Air Force Academy. The residents of Colorado Springs are ready for this project. We engaged nearly 700 residents in a survey to determine the best possible location for this rail depot. The results are very encouraging. 68% of our residents agreed or strongly agreed with the recommended location. We are ready. And friends, the secret is out. Colorado Springs is a world-class city. Our airport continues to set records year over year of the number of passengers flying in and out of Colorado Springs, which is just one of the indicators that there is a growing demand to live and visit my great city. The day before Thanksgiving, my son and I were at our airport handing out hot cocoa and meeting travelers. I met a number of residents, travelers really, from Castle Rock and Parker and beyond, who actually fly regularly out of Colorado Springs Airport. And I believe these travelers will benefit from this project and regional connectivity. I believe the rail service will be an important component of my city's evolution, which is ironic because Colorado Springs was founded by one of the greatest railroad men of his time, General William Jackson Palmer. So in many ways, the Front Range Rail marks an exciting return to our roots. So in closing, I just want to mention again that Colorado Springs is truly thrilled. And Administrator Bose, we do celebrate this important milestone. And Governor Polis, we look forward to working with all the regional partners to ensure the success of this project, but also to ensure that my city remains an inclusive, culturally rich, economically prosperous, safe and vibrant city on a hill that shines brightly, onward and upward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Mobolade, Executive Director Liu, Administrator Bose, and Governor Polis. We are so honored to have you today. I'd now like to introduce General Manager of the Front Range Passenger Rail District, Andy Karsian. He will give some remarks and is also available for questions.
Thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you, Administrator Bose, Governor Polis, for being here and taking time out of your busy days. I hope that it was wonderful down in Pueblo. The Front Range Passenger Rail District went down there and toured it a couple months ago now and was able to enjoy the Stadler train, and so I hope that it went well. Thank you all very much. Thank you to History Colorado for hosting our event today. This is a wonderful place to speak to you all about the possibilities and the kind of transformational opportunity that we have in front of us. We see around us the history of the passenger rail that we have had in this state, and there's been a pause, and now we are very excited to try and bring it back. And there's the historic opportunity with the convergence of the interest that you've heard about before from the local levels up to the state level with an invested state leadership, not only at the administrative level, but also at the legislative level, and then at the federal level as well, which is the reason we are here as part of being accepted into the Corridor ID program. It's just the first step, as many have said before. This program establishes the Front Range Passenger Rail Corridor as one of the potential corridors to be developed in the country. As you've heard, we are positioned very well. There are 3 steps to this Corridor ID program. We have been accepted into step 2, which means that we have done the work necessary in order to be ahead of most of the rest of the country. In step 2, we're going to be kind of quantifying and listing what those corridor capital needs are, working with our host railroads, establishing who our operators will be, and making those concrete decisions on what is necessary in order to realize passenger rail service here in the state in the short future, so that none of us will walk away and be regretful that we missed an opportunity that we see in front of us today. I would like to thank all of the local governments, our board members that are here today. Thank you for taking the time for being here. Thank you for taking the time to be a part of the Front Range Passenger Rail District. We have spent the last year creating the district. It was created by the legislature in 2021. From 22 to 23, we established it administratively, and now we are ready to continue to partner with the state, with the Department of Transportation, to move this project forward into success, to be the historic opportunity that we hope it will be moving ahead. So with that, I'll wrap up this section of the event. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and if they're too difficult for me, I will give them to the more prestigious members of the panel who are here today. So please, sir.
How much is this going to cost?
That's the big question, isn't it? I knew that was going to be the first one. We are looking at trying to minimize the amount of money that we need to ask the taxpayers for that cost. I'm going to answer your question. By using the existing infrastructure and partnering with the federal government and the state government to try and minimize those costs. The short answer to that is our initial alternatives assessment, which is the name of the report that has helped guide the planning processes so far, has put it in a range of around $2 to $6 billion, depending on the level of service that we come up with. We're looking, obviously, to have a kind of starter service in order to get some trains running on the tracks that are in existence today and then build upon that instead of going for a Cadillac service and that will cost much more money. We wanted to try and build upon the successes that we will have earlier on. Other questions? Sir? The timeline, yeah, I was expecting that. So we're looking within the next decade, right? And so we've had decades of planning to get up to this point. I think without the presence of the federal rail dollars that are available through the IIJA as well as the corridor ID, and in addition to the state support that we have, that makes it a much more possible timeline for within the next decade. There's still a lot of work that does need to be done, negotiations with the host railroads, purchasing equipment, building the things that we need to build. So all of that obviously takes time, but we have a goal of within the next decade. Sir? Yeah, absolutely. So step 3 really brings us into, once we identify all the capital needs of the corridor, then we move into the environmental clearance part of it. And we're hopeful that with this, because we're using existing infrastructure and we're negotiating with the freight railroads throughout this whole process, we're really hopeful that the NEPA process and the environmental clearance will go quickly in order to bring that service quickly to the riders. And then you mentioned also next steps after the environmental clearance. That will be when we start working with getting the trains on the tracks and ideally maybe even collaborating with the existing transit services in order to maximize the multimodal hubs and the commuter lines that we have in existence and possibly in the future as well. It's an ongoing conversation. We're looking hard at 2024 in regards to a ballot measure. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation that needs to be done before that with the state and the department and the feds and the legislature and the local governments and the district and everybody else. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But we also recognize that in projects like this and big projects, timing is everything. And so we are looking hard at 2024 for a ballot measure. Here.
Just a question about what we start, you kind of outlined the minimum. We're worried about freight train interference. So maybe we need double track in the initial project, or
Yep.
is it a double track really soon?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that we absolutely have going for us is we have the freight railroads on the district board in addition to Amtrak. And so they are with us, walking with us, and part of the conversations from the very beginning. And so we're doing everything in partnership with them to try and minimize that very real challenge moving into the future. The good news is that these corridors and these tracks historically have had a lot more of a freight presence, and that freight presence has been diminished over the years because of the coal industry. So there's more capacity on the tracks now in order for passenger rail to use them. No more questions? Well, if there's no more questions, we will be here afterwards. If you're too shy to ask them publicly, we are here. I'll be around. Again, I just want to thank everyone from the bottom of our heart. This is a truly
wonderful opportunity that we have. It's time for us to bring passenger rail back to Colorado. It's past time, as the governor said. So thank you all very much for taking the time today. Thank you.